Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. I am Tyler Shaw, filling in for Sophia Ridley. Now, millions of dollars will be used to create a sterile fly facility in Texas. Starting a garden can be an intimidating task for novices, so that seems perfect for someone like me who I wish I did, but I feel like I don't have a green thumb. Always great to see Aggies doing good out there. All right, Berkeley, thank you, and thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks for joining us, Tyler.
We get Sophia back here soon.
What's going on, everyone? This is the Aggie Gameday Extra podcast. I'm Senior Texas A&M sportswriter Travis Brown here at KBTX. We got. You want to call it the A team? You know, maybe this is
this is
a rotational.
I was thinking
OG. Yeah. This is the
old guys.
Yeah. We're kind of like a defensive line. We're rotational. Where there's not starters. There's not a depth chart.
Can I be Myles Garrett?
How fast do you like to
Can
drive?
I be Deshaun Hall? At least let me do that.
Okay, you can be Deshaun Hall. You can be
Okay.
Day. Over there, Chief Meteorologist Max Crawford, a.k.a. Deshaun Hall.
Yes.
Over here, Sports Director. I was almost trying to say senior.
Who am I?
Sports Director Tyler. Well, you haven't been around for a couple of weeks, so I kind of forgot who you were. Who would
Fair
you like
enough.
to be on the Aggie defensive line?
You know what? Albert Regis. I like that dude.
Yeah.
Albert Regis is a
Yeah.
good pick.
He's
He is a good pick.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm blanking on a couple of the guys who, right after Miles and Day left, who were two really, really good defensive ends, really solid, and I just can't remember.
I did a little background research on third down defense. Tyree Johnson was kind of a terror.
That was
Yeah.
one
I'll be
that I was
Tyree
thinking of.
Johnson.
Tyree Johnson's a sleeper
I like
pick.
Tyree Johnson.
I like
He
that.
had like 2 sacks against Bo Nix at Auburn game,
Hey,
just
and
on
he's-
third down.
He's not easy to bring down.
No,
Dude,
no.
do you remember that one scramble play that he had against us in 2020? Do either of y'all remember that play?
reminded me
Yes.
of Johnny Manziel. I know
It
what play
really
you're talking
did.
about.
It was
looked
very-
like Johnny.
But
Yes.
I'm pretty sure Bobby Brown missed 3 tackles on one play.
Yes, very
Yeah.
much so.
Oh,
Anyway.
another A&M defense lineman I love. Can I be a mix of Bobby Brown and Albert
Bobby
Regis?
Brown
that
was
would
pretty
be
good.
that would be pretty insane.
Bobby Brown was pretty good.
Yeah.
We're going from the big guys, the defensive linemen, to the little guys, and we have a new little guy to welcome in the KBTX family. Alex Egan, our director of special projects, who did the playoff live streams with me last year here, and Katie Opperly, his wife, who is the evening anchor here. They welcomed a new little one to the earth. This is baby James. And just going to celebrate all around here. The
What a
KBTX.
cutie.
You had you recently had a new child, Max.
Yes.
What are they going through? We have not had our children yet. What are they going through right now?
Potty training and smiling and laughing is the.
Well, that's what you're going through. What are they going through right now?
I've been smiling and laughing way before I was potty trained. What is James going through?
Yeah, where's James going through?
Right. I mean, shoot. His favorite time to party is in the middle of the night, as I'm sure they have found out over and over and over again already. Alex said something to the extent of like, "Yeah, I'd love to get a little sleep," and I was like, "When you find sleep, you let me know because I haven't been able to do that just
It's hard
yet."
to come by.
Your dad too.
But yeah, man, you just get the snuggles right now.
Tyler, what is there about this time that's so great as a dad?
It's been a while for me. I mean, I've got a 9-year-old, but this time is coming quickly again for me.
You had a
Yes.
child as a child.
Yes.
Not as a child.
Okay.
Not as a child.
I wasn't
You were
actually a child.
You were out of. You were.
But
Yes, you were an adult.
I was a
but
parent very young.
as a figurative
I was
child.
in my early 20s. Yes.
Well, but yeah.
But yeah, it's and it's different at that time of life too, because my early 20s, and I was still in college, and so it is hectic. But she kind of like. I don't know. She's a very chill baby, so I mean, we just kind of our schedules are so different with classes and stuff. So she's kind of rolled with the punches with us. It'll be a lot different the second time around. For sure.
I think another thing about this stage, it is so cool. Like every single day, you just kind of learn something new, and then like a couple months in, you get more personality and stuff, and it just gets better and better. It's wonderful.
It's cool when the personality starts to come out, and you kind of see,
yeah. But
it's
right now,
awesome.
you're just getting some snuggles. Keeping him alive, making sure that he's nice and rested and fed and all that
getting
good
little
stuff.
naps
And
in.
as a dad, you're just like, let me know what I can possibly do. Lots of diaper changes.
Oh yeah.
And then you go from there.
Well, good stuff from the Egans. Now we'll transfer from that baby
Big boys
back
to little
to
boys
back to
to-
big boys, because
Right.
we're gonna head into the headlines here of this week, and the first one, a little heartwarming one that we had was the fact that Albert Regis, one of that you mentioned, one of A&M's big guys on the line, he just recently became a father as well. So did Jacob Zeno, quarterback, backup quarterback for the Aggies.
Jacob Zeno, who might be older than you, Tyler.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. That dude's been around for a while.
Yeah.
So Albert Regis and his fiance had a daughter 2 months ago. So he's like having to do the whole summer workout, fall camp thing with a small child. How would y'all have handled that if you were having to wake up for like basically 2 days with a 2-month-old?
I don't know, man. Both sets of grandparents would have to be here and helping, because I don't know.
That would be super rough. I will say though, we might see a little more from him this year. He might have that dad strength to him.
That's
because
true.
that's a real thing.
That's
I mean,
true.
you become a dad, and there's just something that happens that he might have a little something extra this season.
You could get some dad lower back pain as well.
Yes.
Hopefully that does not happen.
Carrying
to
the baby
Regis,
around.
but yeah, we'll go dad's strength.
I think
a little bit of extra.
You did ask him, like, would being a dad provide a little something. We actually had a good quote from him about just kind of what it's been like going through being a dad, and what kind of translates to on the football field.
Everything I do, like, I always think about, like, is my daughter going to be affected by this? Is my lady going to be affected by this? Like, that's my family. When I come home, I got them waiting on me, and it just gives me a sense of happiness. And then in the morning, when some mornings I'm just, like, overly tired, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I can do it today. And then looking at them before I leave, I'm like, you know what? They sleeping great, looking great while they sleep. I can keep going, because when I get home, I know they're going to be waiting on me, and it's all going to work itself out.
So some heartfelt, heartwarming moments there from Albert Regis. But we also have the fun that's going to happen at Kyle Field. The LED lights displays. I got a little bit of video of it. We'll show here in a second. There's like a helicopter video of it over
up top angle.
What are we thinking about the Kyle Field light shows?
Well, if you ask the athletes, they say it's long overdue.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's the most important part.
The athletes all love it, the idea of it. They said, we've been going to all these other stadiums like South Carolina, and we want that at Kyle Field, because they say Kyle Field's already one of the best atmospheres. This is just going to enhance it. I kind of agree. I think college football is meant to be fun. I get maybe there's some purists out there that we can't take away from the traditions that make A&M. I don't think this will do that, but I could be wrong. I don't know, Max, what your thoughts are on the lights.
Those same people are still chirping about the Jumbotron in old Kyle Field when it surfaced in like 07, 08 or something like that, and how that was what really killed Old Army. But yeah, you gotta keep up with the times. It's about the fan experience, but like if it gets the players hyped up, that's what's the most important part. If it somehow, some way contributes towards the momentum, motivation, whatever you want to call it, part of the game, I'm all for it. Give the players what they want.
Just imagine Mo Bamba with a little light show.
Hey,
going
I tell you what, like that could be pretty wild. I am excited to see that, especially. Well, not especially. I think only in night game environments, but. Yeah, I think it'll be fun.
Well, and it's something that people don't understand, too, that we've seen from some of these other places we've been that have them. If it's overcast, or even some of the afternoon games, like you're not going to get that fully immersive, change to reddish maroon color, but like they'll be going off, and so it's kind of like Christmas lights,
and
more
ambiance.
so than so. I remember Ole Miss was one of the first schools to get them. And they had like that rain game in 5 or 6 years ago, and they just kind of had them going off all pregame doing stuff that was pretty cool.
I think Georgia had it when we went and played them. The only time we played them in regular season play, I'm pretty sure they had it back in 2019.
Yep, they had it. Alabama has it. South Carolina has it, and South Carolina overuse it. They go really hard.
I don't think A&M's going to use it as much as
probably not. Right?
Trev Alberts has already kind of come out and said that it's going to be mixing with modernity and tradition.
Well,
all
and
at the
that's
same
the
time.
whole. That's what you try to do if you're A&M, right? Is you try to channel the good old Aggie spirit while also keeping up with the times.
Yep. Finally, new Aggie men's basketball transferred guard Ali Deba from Southern Illinois. He's from Sweden.
Yeah.
too.
So there's 2 Swedish athletes.
Yeah. So
Two Swedes on campus.
So pretty late addition. He did average 17 points, which is pretty good. A lot of guards. I mean, I know it's fast pace, a lot of pressure, a lot of 3-point shooting with buckyball, but they have a lot of guards on this team.
Yeah, but I think that's exactly what you hit it on the head. That's buckyball. Yeah, I think we're probably going to see that. And look, in this day and age, especially with basketball recruiting, you get the best players available. You know, you figure out the kind of fit and stuff. I mean, it's just like when you draft a team, you don't per se like the NFL. In the NBA, you don't draft for position. You just draft who's the best player. And I think kind of that buckyball is. Hey, these guys can shoot. These guys can run. These guys can play. We'll find a spot for them.
Other than the fast pace, like in-your-face defense and shooting threes, I don't know a ton about buckyball. And honestly, like let's be real, I don't know ball in general. So I'm just gonna
No
trust
ball
Bucky
network.
on this one.
Yeah. I mean, and when I talked to one of the guys who he coached with in high school over in Alabama high school, and he said, they had all these players, and he said when they hired Bucky, and he was like 24 or 25 to be a major high school varsity coach, they were worried about, like, okay, is he going to be able to handle the parents? Like, is he going to be able to handle if little Timmy isn't playing? And the mom, well, that wasn't really an issue because they were rotating so many people in because they were playing so high octane that, like, everybody got to play. So we'll see how much that translates to the college level too, from some of that. And then, so our final headline of the week: Aggie soccer started off the 2025-26 campaign with a tie against Baylor and a late winner against Lamar. I don't know how much y'all got to. I was at both of these games, so I won't necessarily defer to y'all too much. Aggie soccer is going to need to find some attack. I mean, yeah, you look at the amount of shots, the amount of corner kicks, the amount of shots on goal they had in these games were high compared to the opponents, but a lot of that on the second game, the Lamar game, was because they had 10 minutes, 11 on 10 because of a red card. I've never seen a double red card game in college. There was 10. One where it was 10 on 10, and that open space helped A&M get that late goal. But they're going to need to find a little more consistent offense and getting the ball in the net, that kind of finishing touch before conference play comes around.
So you'd say the chances were there, like the scheme is there. They just got to make better contact. They got to be more on target. They've got to be in a little bit better position. So, like, do you think that the philosophy is there with the ladies?
They're still building some of that chemistry with each other, because one of the biggest problems with the Baylor game, why they couldn't extend their lead, is the center midfield just completely disappeared from the game.
Gotcha.
Baylor moved their defensive line up higher, and it kind of tricked A&M into a false sense of security that they could send the ball long and have their forwards chase those balls down and get some breakaways, and that just didn't end up being there. And so their build-up play through the middle just kind of fell apart. It's ironic that the one goal that they got against Lamar was kind of one of those balls over the top that Trinity Buchanan was able to chase down and, like, chip into the goal from the most impossible angle. But yeah, they just, they brought in 10 new players from 10 transfers.
They got
I think
freshmen on the team too.
7 of those 10 were starting against Baylor. And a lot of these players are players that were, like, the best in the Mountain West, the best in the Big West. The question is still out if they have the ability to take that next step and be consistent in the SEC. So we'll have to see. But I think the offense gave me something a little to question in that 1-0-1 start.
Over 40 years ago, my parents started C&J Barbecue, and today we continue to honor Dad's legacy with the best barbecue in the Brazos Valley. With locations on Harvey Road, Southwest Parkway, and our newest location on William Joe Bryan, we carry on our family tradition of serving up award-winning barbecue, sides, and desserts. We also offer delivery, catering, as well as custom menus and private chef services. Come visit us today for some of the best barbecue around. C&J Barbecue. The C is for Chip, the J is for Joe, and the barbecue is for you.
Well, let's head right into the main conversation here because it's previewing the Texas A&M season. The season is upon us. Next week on this podcast, we will be previewing
the Roadrunners.
The Roadrunners. We will be talking a little bit about UTSA and all that implies, but we got to break down what this Aggie team is first. Well, just let's start with overall observations. Max, what excites you the most? What worries you the most about this team?
Well, first of all, I've been the annoying guy who has been correcting the casuals of saying, yeah, I think we play UTSA that weekend after Labor Day. And then like we play another team. No, they're similar. There's a U, there's a T, there's an S, and an A on both of these teams, and we play them both early on. But it's UTSA first, and then it is Utah State.
Put some respect on Bronco Mendenhall's name, man.
100%. And we got to go out and beat the Aggies. You know, so we got
Aggies on Aggies,
and Aggie on Aggie violence, right? So yeah, I've been that guy. I've been like, no, it is UTSA and then Utah State. So I've been that guy in my friend groups. That's been fun. I think I'd just boil it down to one word: offense. I'm excited about the offense, and I think that was a question mark beyond the defensive backfield, which was already much talked about from the past or the last couple of games of the season. Kind of boiling point at Elko's presser in the bowl game, and so that was probably one of the main talking points of like, well, what are we going to do there? But the question was, where are we going to find speed? Where are we going to find proven talent? We need wide receivers. We need this. We need that. And it appears as though, and this is just me reading the press clippings from you guys and others, it appears as though we're starting to find it. That Colin Klein's starting to figure out the weapons that he has. And I said this last week. Dude, for a very stoic guy, looks pretty excited about the weapons that he's going to have. So, yeah, that's what I'm excited about.
Tyler, what about you?
So, when I think about 2025, I think of experience. I think that's what why there's room for optimism, I guess, for this A&M team is because of the experience. Early on when I kind of first was looking at the schedule and looking, comparing to last year, I was a little bullish on this season. But the more I thought about it and the more of that experience is going to be a big strength for them. They could do some pretty good things this year. The potential is there. And as our Aggie Gameday or our Aggie preview show on TV next week, the title is Something to Prove. I think that A&M has everything to prove in the world after what they showed the potential of doing last year and then the late season collapse. They got to prove that they are beyond that they can finish games and finish seasons and, make it out, healthy for one thing.
Right.
That'll be a big thing. But if healthy, I think this team has a lot of potential.
People think this showbiz that we're in is so refined and polished that Something to Prove was selected as we were both like texting, laying in bed at 1:30 a.m.
trying to come up with show titles.
Yeah. It's a really classy business that we run here. I think that for me, the thing that I'm the most excited to watch is the A&M passing game, to see how that's improved, to see how these wide receivers fit in, to see how the tight ends fit into the whole system. When we've been out at practice, especially watching some of the wide receivers, the amount of time that they're spending on, from what we see, caveat, on different blocking patterns with bubble routes, with short slants, with two wide receivers, things that you can obviously tell are a part of a strong RPO system where you have to kind of read what the quarterback's doing, then read what you're going to be blocking and all the above. It has been really interesting to me. But then all the conversation, we've talked about it on this podcast where everything coming out of that first spring game or first scrimmage of the fall camp was explosive. This is an explosive offense, and we haven't seen an explosive A&M. When is the last time that you can say that there was an offense that A&M had that you would consider explosive?
2016. I mean, like, I think you could say 2020.
The Trevor Knight year?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you could say 2020. But that was
Those
more
were- that
like
was an
a slaughter.
explosive. That was-
exactly.
That was
So-
consistent.
Yeah, they were consistent.
And I even think Trevor Knight was consistent.
Well,
It wasn't explosive.
Okay, well then 2014.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably. Or I'd even go back to like 2012, 2013, Johnny years.
I think most of the Sumlin era you could still call the offense explosive. I mean,
more
Trevor,
explosive than it has been.
I am a Trevor Knight apologist, and that duo of
Friend
Trevor
of the show.
Knight,
Friend
Trevor
of
Knight,
the big show.
Trevor Knight and Travion, and then occasionally Keith Ford in there. We had a lot of weapons then. 17 through like 24 was a lot more sluggish, and then like we had some good offenses in those years, 2018 and 2020, but those were more like slobber knocker type offenses and not necessarily explosive.
You know, I go back to, was it, so the artist formerly known as the Belk Bowl, it was right after Sumlin actually got fired, and it was Jeff Banks as the interim head coach.
And Starkle,
was it Starkle
lit it up.
and Starkle, and they threw for like over 400 yards. That might be the last time I can really remember like an explosive. They ended up losing the game, but an explosive offense.
I mean, you saw some flashes of brilliance with, say, for example, the way Wigman played against Missouri last year. Some of the big plays that Marcel was able to make on the run and throwing against Florida last year. But yeah, I don't think that you would look back at our offense last season and go, yeah, that was an explosive offense. So yes, point made and taken.
Tyler, from what you've seen so far, again, we're big, always huge asterisk. We see very little in practice and little context. But what do you think as we kind of move into the offensive portion of this preview? What do you think this offense is going to look like?
So that's an interesting one because I do think, I mean, the word explosive has been thrown around, and I do think that this receiving core is going to be, especially production-wise, maybe some of the best receiving core we've seen in recent years. I mean, you talked about those, 2017, 2024. Like, I didn't think they had the receiving core that A&M has now. But on top of that, the running back stable. I mean, if you have a healthy Le'Veon Moss and Reuben Owens and Amari Daniels, that's a three-headed monster there. So if Marcel takes that next step as a quarterback and as a passer, I just think all around this offense is going to put up some numbers. They're going to put up some yards because you can't lock down the receivers and leave Le'Veon Moss open up the middle of the field. So I think that they are going to cause some problems. Now, that is if we actually see that next step from Marcel and these receivers, from what I've seen, I think have the potential to be some of the best receiving core we've seen in a while. But I guess that's yet to be determined out on the field.
I think my word is utility. And last year, I think especially as we were still trying to kind of figure ourselves out, we kind of lived and died on Le'Veon Moss. And his absence for the rest of the season, we weren't really able to overcome. And, Amari Daniels definitely stepped up, and then he got injured. And, we didn't have Reuben Owens. And E.J. Smith, started coming on towards the end of the season. But it was very predicated on the run game because the passing game was just still a little bit of a question mark. And so I think when I say utility, I mean you're going to have multiple playmakers on the field. And so hopefully you're going to be able to utilize those. And so if we start running the ball, trying to do a ground and pound type of deal, and we're getting a lot of 2nd and 9s or 2nd 11s or even 2nd and 7s and stuff like that, maybe that's when we can start throwing on the RPOs or keeping the ball or throwing bubble screens or maybe trying to do some mid to even more vertical game passing stuff that I think really just wasn't there last year. And so where we would maybe sputter out multiple drives at a time, I think you're going to have the opportunity to, if you're maybe not doing so good in one phase of, say, the ground and pound run game, you'll have another outlet where I think last year we weren't really able to. But I think the offense is going to look like you probably still go pretty run heavy on first down or RPO heavy on first down, and you try to get yourselves in that like 2nd and 3, 2nd and 4 situation, and then you just open up the playbook, right? And that's what a lot of offenses do. But like if you're getting 2nd and 3rd and short, your options are a lot better. Whereas a lot of times last year we were getting behind on the chains. It would be 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10, and then all of a sudden it's 3rd and 10. And you're like, well, what do we do now? Well, if we even get in that situation, what we're told is we've got a lot more depth at tight end for some mid routes there, and we've got verticality with a couple of really good receivers. So
I'm really curious to see, and this is not something we've actually necessarily seen out at practice. If they're going to be with the skill that they have in Le'Veon Moss for that ground and pound game, with, like you said, the more versatility, the more angles of attack that they kind of have maybe in this second year in the offense with Marcel Reed and the wide receivers and the running backs they have, will we see some more two-back sets? Because running that, basically the RPO with a back that is like Le'Veon Moss, who is a power threat, and then throw a Reuben Owens or an E.J. Smith or a Amari Daniels, who is a little bit more of a good pass catching option. I guess you're kind of playing off of what you're saying. There's just a lot more weapons out there, a lot more angles of attack, a lot more ways to get the ball into playmakers' hands.
What about like a two-back formation with Reuben Owens and Terry Bussey?
I was about to say Terry Bussey
Yeah.
coming out of the backfield. I would not be surprised if they're going to put him anywhere on the field. But yeah, he's going to be a guy that brings a different dynamic. It's going to be hard to game plan, I think, for an offense like this.
I think that's been, sorry, Travis. I think that's been a lot of the conversation on the Twitter sphere is like, we're talking about all these guys, KC and Mario Craver, and a lot of people are like, well, what about Terry Bussey? And like opposing fan bases are like, Terry Bussey went there to just be a blocker and stuff. And I don't think it's very wise to count him out of the game just yet, because Anaya Smith, I think, is, and they've in pressers have kind of mentioned like this could be kind of our next Anaya Smith. Maybe not quite as shifty as Anais was, but it seems like he works just as hard. And I think he's going to be a dude who is open a lot and that they use in a lot of different packages.
Well, Terry Bussey was the talk of the offseason 2 years ago.
Right,
Coming in freshman, he was the guy. How are they going to use Terry Bussey? Get Terry Bussey out on the field. I feel like the guy that's taken that mantle this year is Ashton Bethel Roman, who has been. We've seen on some of the clips that they put on social media and heard from the players that this could be kind of the breakout guy, the guy that takes the top off the defenses a little bit. And so I'm curious to think, do you see him as probably being Casey Concepcion as the main guy, then with Mario Cravers and Ashton Bethel Roman? Like, what do you see in that wide receiver group?
So I do still think that Concepcion is going to be the guy that's your kind of go-to receiver. But you're going to get a lot of touches from Ashton Bethel Roman, I think. Now, it's one of those things. There's only one football. If you have all these weapons, how does it go around? But I would not be surprised if Ashton Bethel Roman, ends up being your number 2 target there. I wouldn't be surprised if Concepcion goes gets 1,000 yards, and Ashton Bethel Roman isn't too far behind him. That's kind of what I see. Again, this is all predicated on does that passing game take that next step? Are you not as reliant on Le'Veon Moss because he's going to be a weapon in and of itself? But that's kind of what I see right now.
I want to interject real quick and bring up a point here that because we have the clip going here. When is the last time that you've seen an A&M team run a speed option? Because they were practicing this the other day, and you have to go back to some of those like Trevor Knight, even early Kevin.
I was gonna say
Mondays.
Kellen did a few.
Yep.
He did some speed options, but yeah, it was T Knight, and then before that, shoot, man, it was the Fran days with Stephen McGee.
Well, and Marcel Reed and Le'Veon Moss. That's a pretty powerful duo doing the speed option there, trying to defend that. So
yeah. It's. I think we knew this when A&M first hired Colin Klein, is that he's got his bread and butter type of plays, but he's still a very multiple offense type of person. If you're to play the college football, video game, the label would be power spread, right? Mm-hmm. So I mean, like that in and of itself says there are multiple ways that you can attack a defense, and so I don't know. That's all I can find myself talking about at this point is I want to see us score some points again. Maybe that's because I was in school when we had Johnny and Sumlin, and even like kind of the early days of Jimbo when we were putting up a lot of points.
Let's shift over to the defense. What is the biggest strength and concerns that, Tyler, you see in this defense?
I think that the defensive line, there's a lot of talk early on of, wow, you're losing, two really good players to the draft, Nick Scorton, Shamar Stewart. Shamar Turner leaves too. I think this defensive line is going to kind of unleash. I think the depth is there. Cassius Howell is primed for a breakout season. But they're going to have a whole rotation of guys there at defensive line. So I think you're going to see the depth of that line. And I think their production is going to jump up from last year, because that was a disappointment, kind of, if you're just looking at stats. Like, they really didn't get to the quarterback a whole lot, or at least bring him down. I think you're going to see that improvement. Again, we've said it a lot, but the question mark is the defensive secondary. There's been a lot of talk about Will Lee just being that dude, and Tyreek Chappelle coming back, that will help. So yeah, I'm curious to see what that all looks like and how much they've shored things up in the defensive secondary.
It seems like in a similar way, there's lots of weapons on the field, and it'll be very interesting to see how they're utilized. And whether it be portal and getting Tyreek Chappelle back and things like that, it almost feels like you could maybe say defensive back has a potential to go from the biggest weakness on the team to maybe a potential strength.
Yeah,
that might be stretching it a little bit, because there are still some questions to be answered. But if you get the right people in the right place, and there's obviously a lot of talent there, then maybe you could be cooking with something good. I think my biggest concern could be defensive line, but just to have a different answer, I think it's maybe linebacker. I mean, you've got your two dudes. You've got York and you've got Scooby Williams. Who do you have beyond that? The Damian Sanford, I think, is probably going to be one of the dudes who's in heavy rotation. I've heard Jernigan's name mentioned and things like that, but those are a couple of dudes who, I mean, Sanford's has made some plays, but I think linebacker is going to be very important, and a defensive line that obviously has a lot of talent. You feel like you're going to be able to rotate, but if they're having an off day in the run defense, you've got to have a couple of killers at linebacker.
This is something I wrote about yesterday, and I'm going to say it's both what I think is the strength and the concern, and that's third down defense. If you go back to 2020, 2021, the last couple of years that Mike Elko was the defensive coordinator here, A&M, especially in 2021, they finished 13th in the nation in third down defense.
That was a salty defense.
They were just absolutely unreal on third down, and a lot of that goes to the fact that they had like whole third down packages. They had guys, it was like special teams. Third downs was a special teams situation where they rolled out usually a dime formation, sometimes different guys on the defensive line out there. We were talking about, Tyree Johnson was a big part of that third down special teams unit kind of thing, and they would bring defensive backs on blitzes from all kinds of different angles. You look back, I pulled up the 2021 game against Auburn. Bo Nix was the quarterback. They had 5 sacks in that game. 2 of them were from Tyree Johnson on third down, and then Damani Richardson got 2 quarterback hurries on third down, blitzing from the safety position. I asked Jay Bateman, the defensive coordinator, is that coming back? Because we didn't really see much of that last year.
It was pretty vanilla, right?
Some of that, he said, had to do with they were worried about the defensive secondary and the coverage issues they had back there. He said some of that is they had such a good defensive line, they didn't want to rotate those guys in or pull one of those guys out because they were good one-on-one matchups. But I think the overall projection of third down last year was not great. They finished outside the top 50, I believe, on third down defense. For last year, and that was the reason why that defense was so dominant in these years past. So it has been a question mark, but it also could be a strength. I think Jay Bateman's quote on it is that Mike Elko's exotic defenses are in bloom right now during fall camp.
And I think you're going to see a different defense now. I mean, with Elko kind of taking over more control, more hands-on. Last year seemed to kind of almost be experimenting the waters. And again, with all the experience and continuity on the team, they have that freedom to put in these more exotic sets and stuff because these players are more comfortable with this system. So yeah, I do think the defense overall we'll see. Maybe it'll be closer to what we saw when Elko was the defensive coordinator here a few years back.
I remember the defensive lineman from earlier that I wanted to be that I couldn't remember. Landis Durham and Quaylen Cunningham. That was the last time y'all heard those names.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a good one.
Anyway, then my question for you guys, and this is off script. This is crazy.
There we go.
When you talk about Elko kind of taking the reins a little bit and being more involved in the defensive game and things like that, as a defensive mind, that's cool. But at what point is that not a concern? Because, I don't know, for instance...
Are you having PTSD from Jimbo?
A little bit.
Exactly what I was going to say,
That's the point I'm trying to make is at what point does that become a little bit concerning that Elko's having to do that? Are you then concerned that other facets of the CEO coach lifestyle are going to be threatened by that? Or is this just a thing where you're saying this dude's brilliant and he can probably handle the extra quote unquote workload?
I think that's a big question. I think that is, I know Elko does not like being compared to Jimbo. He's a very different guy. He coaches very differently. But I think anytime you are talking about a coach being more involved in the coordinator type role, you have to question or at least have a question mark on how the overall product is going to kind of be run. Now, there are, because of the changing in rules, there are more coaches who are involved day-to-day in practice who can be involved on the sidelines, and you might say that can help because but I'll be curious to see. I'll be curious to see how much he is involved in the minutia of the defense during the game.
Yeah.
But I
or like in certain situations,
we do know he is.
Are they going full Auburn? Do they have 3 different play callers for each different down?
That's crazy.
I don't know about that. Are they going to go full Auburn and just kind of claim some more national championships?
Yeah, why not?
We did that too not too long ago, so I can't be too mad.
Conference championships.
Yes, and national,
national,
including one where we were not only undefeated but also unscored upon. So that one you can't.
Yeah,
you
like
can't.
1919.
That's the
Good
one.
old days.
Dana X Bible.
I like one of the ones that Auburn added back in was because they were penalized. They had a postseason ban.
Oh well, then
they went undefeated, but they're claiming it anyway.
Never played a postseason.
That is beyond silly.
Barn
hey,
cheating,
at least
Paul.
we have a playoff now, so there's no question of who the champion
Barn
is.
is cheating, Paul. I had another question in the realm of coaches taking over and doing things like that, but maybe it'll come back to me later. Like Quaylen Cunningham and Landis Durham did.
How good does this defense need to be? I guess this was the question I was going to kind of lead up to. You usually look at, good teams play complementary football, but there usually is one side that's a little bit better. Who needs to be the strong back to carry more of the load for this team, the offense or the defense?
That's a good question. Right now, I'm going to pin it on the defense, just because I do think the offense has made those strides and they'll be able to kind of pull their weight. I think the defense is going to have to make maybe some of those game-changing plays, especially when you look at some of the offenses that they're facing this year, like, I don't know, LSU, South Carolina, Texas. There's some heavy hitters there. Right now, I'll put it on the defense. Again, you want to be complimentary football, but if you're going to pick one side of the football that needs to step up and rise to the occasion to be a winner, I think right now it's got to be the defense.
I like that answer, especially in terms of our away schedule. Defense travels, and it's very important that we have a solid defense. But just to be a contrarian, I'm going to say it's on the offense. I think especially if you're comparing year to year, what was the biggest problem against Notre Dame? We just could not move the ball. What was the biggest problem against South Carolina, against Texas? We just could not figure out how to score. And I think that our defense, albeit having their own deficiencies, and especially towards the end of the season where they just kind of didn't look like the way that they did at the start of the year, they still kept us in games for the most part. I think Auburn would maybe be one of the bigger outliers there. But our defense played well enough most definitely to win against Texas, and maybe
You
not
shut them
against
out
USC.
in the second half.
Right, exactly. Like our defense wasn't the problem in multiple games that we lost, and so yeah, I think just being an offensive guy, I need to see points scored. Especially on the road. But like, let's make Kyle. Let's give the fans something to cheer
Were you
about.
about to say let's make Kyle great again?
No, I sure wasn't. But one of the okay.
Make Kyle LED.
Case in point, make it LED. Yeah, whatever you have to do. But case in point, the Texas game to start was one of the best atmospheres that I can remember being in Kyle to start. But towards the end of the game, even as good as we were playing on defense in the second half, you could just tell there was a collective deflation that happened over the course of the game, because when we'd get a stop on defense, we'd maybe get a little bit of shred of hope back, and that pick six was really awesome and stuff like that, but there was still no faith that the offense could do anything. And the goal line stand that Texas made and stuff like that, like the offense has got to manufacture some additional stuff. Like the defense, I think, is going to do their job. They're probably going to have their deficiencies, but to me, we got to score.
That's fair. That pick six was one of the biggest pops.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine had the offense been, because it had died down up until that point. Had the momentum been building to that point, I can imagine how off the chains and Kyle Field would have been.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to go a little bit more minutia and say that I think the run game, the run offense needs to carry the team.
It's the second time you've said that word.
Minutia.
Minutia? It's a good
I'm
word.
gonna have to Google it after this.
It's
not
not
militia.
It's not cumulonimbus or
I'm gonna.
anything like
Well,
that,
I was gonna
so.
say I'm gonna use it in my weathercast later. Minutia. We're gonna
okay.
talk a little minutia.
Okay.
Talk
I
about
think
the minute
maybe on the
details.
podcast we should put like a hidden word for your weathercast.
Okay,
that
I
people
love it.
Need to tune in for. So I think that they definitely need to the run offense needs to carry this team, because they're going to be so good. It'll be curious to see how well Le'Veon Moss, Reuben Owens bounce back from injury. How easily they're able to integrate into the offense into the first couple of games. But I do think that they are so good behind an offensive line that returns so much that you need to establish the run, which will open up some of that explosive offense. I think some of that you can include the short RPO passes as kind of as a part of the run game. But
Right.
I think that the run should set up the pass for this team, and they're going to be at their best when they can establish that run and then just really open up the lanes for Marcel Reed to let it go.
100% agree. Absolutely.
Well, let's go into the part that everybody wants to know, the predictions. What do we think this season's going to look? And I did not look at your two predictions before I did mine. So
Same.
We all did these independently.
I have a feeling one of them is going to look very different than the other two. I just have a hunch.
Huh. Okay. Well, they all are all different.
Okay.
Max, why don't we start?
Do we have to?
Oh, okay. Who do you want to start with?
It doesn't matter.
Who do you wanna
See,
start
you
with?
have mine first on the rundown, so if that's what you wanted to do, then we
No,
can.
that's not actually what I wanted to do. I just put
Okay.
these up there.
They're actually-
Let's start with Tyler.
They're
Let's
in
start with
Let's
you.
start with
alphabetical
Tyler,
order,
because
actually.
I have a feeling
Oh.
Tyler's going to be in the middle.
We'll go-
Travis is going to go one way, and I'm going to go another
You
way.
know what?
That's
how'd
what
you
I have a
figure us
feeling.
out so well?
That's just
Tyler, here's your predictions. You can go through it.
Okay. I will preface this by saying I do think this is more on the optimistic side. There were times where I was, not trying to make joke of it's Texas 8-4, but I mean looking at the schedule, I thought legitimately this is probably 8-4, and that doesn't mean that it's a bad season. But I definitely, again, we talked about the experience and kind of how the offense we think is going to be so much better. I do think this 9-3 is very attainable.
Hold on, I'm gonna stop you real quick.
Yeah.
You need to show your fun little your cheat sheet.
Yeah.
I think we need to. This is the little calendar, the little
fun little
Ooh,
spreadsheet
I want
here.
one of those.
We need to get you a quarterback
Tattoo.
a
Oh,
quarterback
yeah.
arm thing, so you can have your little pocket.
So
schedule.
this pocket schedule sits on my desk all year, and I look at it all the time. My old one was underneath this one. I have the 2024 one, and that one's all ripped up. So now I've got
I just
my
like
2025.
the image of you kind of over here pulling up your little play sheet.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
anyway,
yeah. Let me look at this.
Go back to Tyler's predictions.
Okay, so the big one here is I have them winning at Notre Dame, which might be way out there. I just think Notre Dame is one of those teams that has a lot of question marks. They proved me wrong last year. They've always been one of those where it's kind of wait and see what are they actually like, because they're always going to be ranked top 10 to start the season, but are they actually a top 10 team? So I have them winning at Notre Dame. Other than that, the road schedule is tough. So I've got 2 road losses that probably their toughest ones on there, Texas and LSU. And then I have Florida. I know Florida's at home, and they kind of whooped up on Florida last year, but I just think this might be the year of DJ Lagway. Again, if he's healthy, again, depending on him, I think that team could be something. Florida is coming off of a game at Texas, which Texas will probably win. Florida will be looking to bounce back from that, going into College Station. I just see that as being a trap game there for A&M. So, yeah, those are my 3 losses. They kind of take care of business the rest of the way. I know South Carolina's going to be tough. You got to go to Mizzou. But, yeah, I think this is attainable.
Max?
So you want me to go me
I
next?
think you should go first.
Well, that would be going second because
Well,
Tyler
second.
just
First
went
before
first
me.
before
Yeah,
you.
okay. Math is hard.
Okay, so for those of you who are watching, you see what I have there. You see my cards. They're laid out on the table. Travis asked to get these in by this morning. I sent them in at 11:59. Here's the thing. We've talked about this so much already the past few weeks. 8-4 could still be a pretty darn good season depending on which wins they are. 10-2 almost seems to me like it's just as achievable. You've got to take care of business on the road, and I think that's where we're going to slip up. I have us undefeated at Kyle Field. I have us losing that first game against Notre Dame just because of their running attack. I do think they have some question marks, especially at quarterback, but I also think that they're going to be a very good running attack that we're maybe not going to be quite prepared for just yet at that point in the season. But I also have us winning the last game of the year, and I can almost guarantee you that Travis does not have that. I think, assuming we're 9-2 at that point in the season, we are probably playing for something, and I think just about everybody on that team knows what happened the last time we were playing for something. And I think that the discipline, the motivation is going to be there to do something special in Austin. And then potentially with that record, assuming you only have one conference loss, you probably control your own destiny and go to Atlanta and then potentially make a playoff berth. I realize I'm putting myself in a position to be very disappointed, but I'm not going to have LSU losing to us in Baton Rouge until I actually see it happen with my own 2 eyes. I almost put Arkansas as a loss, but I'm just assuming that's going to be a daytime kick, and by that point in the season, they're already going to be kind of looking ahead to the next one. So there's where I have those wins. There are a lot of losable games there, but I just have faith that they're going to be better as the season goes on, unlike last year, and I think they're going to get those big wins towards the end of the season.
First, you paint me as like some kind of Texas homer. My grandfather was a All-American basketball player at SMU, and he was fine with any of his kids or grandkids going to any other university in the state of Texas except for Texas. So it's I'm unbiased now. I want to pick the people who I think should win, but I'm no Austin homer.
Well, and no, it's not that. It's that on the opposite, and especially this year where they're a foregone champion of everything already. I am very quickly to attack their weaknesses and whatnot. But yeah, emotion definitely weighed into my picks there. So, I just have a feeling it did not for you, and I just have a feeling I know what your win prediction is for that game specifically.
Well, you started out saying 8-4 is a good season depending on the losses.
Right.
So tell me about some of these losses, because I have them going 8-4. I think that they lose at Notre Dame, at LSU, at Texas, and I don't think they beat South Carolina. I think for as much as you like DJ Lagway at Florida, I like Lenore Sellers at South Carolina, and that presents a pretty big challenge. I think Notre Dame, with returning Love, their running back, one of the things that was mentioned in some of these possible question marks is, linebacker play and stopping the run. That's going to be put to the test in that game with the way that Notre Dame likes to run the ball. LSU is actually maybe the biggest wild card of all of these to me, because they just had to replace so much on the offensive line. And so much of my takes on picking games, especially the SEC, is what do you have in the trenches? Notre Dame had a great offensive line. That was like one of the big question marks going into the game last year, because they had a lot of freshmen, and that turned out to be a great offensive line, and they returned a lot of those guys. LSU had to replace a lot on the offensive line, and so did Texas. But LSU would be maybe my swing game in there. I'm confident in what South Carolina has. I'm confident in what Notre Dame has. I'm pretty confident in what Texas has. So the other one here, and don't get me wrong, I'm just saying this, A&M 10 times out of 10 is going to beat UTSA. But I think that game is going to be mucky. It's the first game of the season. They're a better team than they're not going to lose the game, but it's not going to be a 40-point blowout.
Travis L. Brown.
I'm just saying, it's going to be a sleepy start to the season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the spread is, I think, 27.5. Aggs cover. Easy.
I think it's going to be a sleepy start to the season. I'm not. They're not going to lose.
But he's saying they're not
I think
covering.
we're gonna
But
be
it's worth
looking
mentioning,
at
he
that
says.
game afterwards and going, okay, I don't quite know what they have yet, and then they'll roll into a little bit more of a consistent play.
So
But
if you bring, I was just going to say, if you bring that up, do I get to say don't sleep on Bronco Mendenhall and the other Aggies up north?
Sure, go for it. If you want to put your name to that, I was excited about when we were going to get to that point in the podcast to talk about old Bronco.
Completely joking. They're a terrible team. So
They lost everything.
I might be thinking of the spread of the Utah State game and not UTSA. But okay, so if I may pick apart your picks here, and because actually I'm going to answer your question that you asked right when you showed this first. You said, "Is this a good season?" My answer is no. Because of the losses that we're looking at here. You did not beat any of the teams on the marquee of your schedule. You didn't beat Notre Dame, you didn't beat LSU, you didn't beat Texas. I kind of need a win from one of those, right?
You beat Florida.
Yeah, Florida's a good one.
Fine.
At
and again,
Missouri.
for the most part, you took care of business at home. So, like, it's a season you can build off of, most definitely, and I think that generates momentum going into the next year, totally. But to me, what I'm looking at is a schedule where we start off the season slow, especially since we're going to lose to UTSA, and then you can't get anything going at Notre Dame, and then you're also telling me, okay, well, we win at Arkansas, at Missouri, that gauntlet of away games, we take care of business 2 out of 3, we beat Auburn, we beat Florida, and then you're also telling me, though, towards the end of the season, we just kind of crap the bed again. So to me, no, that tells me almost like, no, I don't really see a huge change here from season to season. It's like we got on a good run and then we finished slowly or sputtered out at the end. So no, that is not a successful season to me.
And to be fair, I think all of us looked at, we pulled up maybe your little pocket schedule, or you pull up the schedule on ESPN or something, and you go game by game. Okay, how do I? And so a trend, I wasn't looking at necessarily a trend like, oh, they're going to have a late season a swoon there with South Carolina and Texas, but it's kind of how it turns out, because I really and not to counterbalance, but just to kind of go through the process of picking the schedule, that I didn't look at season by season trend.
Right.
It was game by game in this. But yes, that does, the way the schedule plays out, it does present a kind of late season slump.
To be perfectly clear, aside from your UTSA shenanigans, I think that is a very, very reasonable and realistic pick for the way that the season is going to go. Mm-hmm. To me, if you're looking at that, though, if you're looking at the 8-4, I need one of those L's to become a W in order for it to be a successful season. I think 9 is still the magic number, because I think you're still, especially if one of those losses is to Notre Dame, you're still talking potential Atlanta contention, just like last year. I think you're still talking potential playoff implications depending on when those other 2 losses happen in the season. So to me, it's got to be 9 for me to call it a success, unless we are. What would we have to be? We'd be 8-3 going into the. I'm trying to do math, y'all.
8-3
8-3 going into Austin, and or even 7-4 going into Austin, and we take care of business the last game of the year, and that 8-4. I hate to put that much weight on the Texas game, but that tells me that we can at least do it. So that 8-4 I would be okay with.
Looking at that too, and maybe even my prediction, maybe even Tyler's a little bit. The other, and we don't have to get too much into this, other big news of the day is that the college football playoff announced that they're going to change the way that they look at their strength of schedule metrics. Now, to me, I hate that. Everything was already weighted for the SEC and the Big 12 to begin with. They created power conferences by bringing in all of these schools that were just making all the money they could off of eyeballs on TV sets. Already had the strength of schedule metrics were fine because they were already getting all their teams in the playoff. What they wanted was more automatic bids to be able to make more money off playoff games. They staged a holdup and got what they wanted disguised as strength of schedule metric. That's just my take on all of it. But
that is 1/10 of your take, if that.
You're right. But maybe I'll write a column.
How much time do we have left in this pod?
Maybe I'll write a column.
I was going to say you ought to, or we could even do a whole other pod about this.
We probably could. We won't do it now. But that being said, that should play in A&M's favor. A&M is one of those teams that, as you look at last year's season, I mean, they weren't on the playoff bubble by the time the Texas game happened, but a team that is hovering around 9 wins, 10 wins in the SEC, that's what this is made for. That change is made for.
You don't lose to South Carolina or Auburn with these new rules or whatever, then, I mean, could have.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Let's close this out real quick with our fun new favorite segment of the podcast. That is Around the SEC, where we take a look at something that happened around the SEC, but probably outside the lines on the field. This comes from our good friends. I think they believe it's a Gray station. And I can't. My thing is too small here, so I can't read the actual
WKYT.
WK. Yes, what he said. A woman over out in Kentucky, got mad at her ex-boyfriend, went and it was poured salt down the gas cap, which that's what really kind of did the worst damage. But also smashed the windows, slashed the tires, smashed the GPS unit on the inside. It was $12,464 of damage. But the part that really gets me here, and yes, the truck was totaled because of all the other stuff, but this is kind of diabolically genius. Dumped a whole bunch of glitter in the air vents. So, Lauren was joking, my wife, if she not necessarily was getting mad at me for these reasons, but wanted to just play a prank and put a whole bunch of glitter in my air vents, like before I was going to go to a Monday press conference, and I walk in looking like
Kesha.
I'm going Kesha, or I'm going to go to a Taylor Swift concert. Like that's pretty diabolical. What do we think? What is the most diabolical piece of this whole shenanigan?
Honestly, I mean, your car's totaled. The salt and it ruins your engine. All of this smashed windows. But the thing that would get me the most riled up and angry is the glitter, because you cannot get glitter out.
You have a 9-year-old daughter. I'm sure there's plenty of glitter.
And she's an artsy person. She loves arts and crafts. So I've had my fair share of glitter around the house. If that stuff gets on you, it's just part of your outfit, your skin,
your DNA, eventually.
In your hair.
Literally,
I still probably have pieces of glitter.
I'm just going to say it. It's the herpes of craft supplies.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's.
I can say that on a family-friendly podcast. Right?
Okay, you just did.
I did. Max, what stands out to you about
what you just said? Stands out to me.
Yeah.
I honestly think, and you should put this in here in post, to me, it's the ear-to-ear grin on the mugshot.
Mm-hmm.
She knew what she did. She knew she was guilty, but she did not care because she was quite satisfied with what she did.
And turn.
She was.
It's gonna be too small, but I
okay.
do like to make Max.
Is very she yes. Yeah. She was very happy with what she did. That was what grabbed me the most. But yeah. Throwing the glitter in there is kind of like the cherry on top, the glittery cherry on top.
Yeah, as according to the article, the defendant here told the ex-boyfriend afterwards that she was stressed out because of her pregnancy and she was sorry about the damage. So apologies.
Huh.
Yeah,
We're,
at least she's sorry.
She didn't
she's
seem sorry in the mugshot.
No, she didn't. But yeah, I think for all you kids out there, if you want to really have a good prank, put some glitter in an air vent.
Oh,
and,
don't do that, please.
And see what happens, because that's fun. So yeah, maybe well, A&M seems to never really play Kentucky at Kentucky or anything, but next year maybe there can be like a nice LeBron James-esque glitter toss.
Maybe they'll play each other in a bowl game. We can play Calzada.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe he'll transfer again to UTSA and they can beat us 2 years in a row.
There you go. I don't know if he's dating anybody, but it sounds like what's her name is single up there in Kentucky. So, that could be
Oh, the lady you just mentioned. I was like, what are you talking about? Okay. Anyway.
Well, I'm just throwing my phone everywhere. I think it's time to get out of here. Thanks so much for listening. We'll start. It's game week. It's week 1 for the Aggies.
There's
next week.
Oodles of content coming.
I have clearly, as we've already discussed, I have so many thoughts about UTSA. I was going to try to get into that, but that's for next week because we'll get into to that game. We'll talk to head coach Mike Elko and do the whole game week. Tyler, you ready? Are you ready for football season? I asked that both for the excitement of football season and the dread.
Logistically, am I actually ready?
Yeah.
No, but ready or not, it's here. It doesn't matter if I'm ready. It's here.
Yeah, it's here. We're going to do it.
I'm not ready.
So we'll be back with all of that next week. Be sure to check KBTX.com, KBTX Sports app, the KBTX Normal app, all of our apps, the KBTX Weather app while you're at it, for all the coverage that we have going on in this room. See these guys on the broadcast and then be back here as we break down that next game. So for Max and Tyler, I'm Travis. This is the Aggie Game Day Extra podcast. We'll see you next week.